Bonjour à tous, welcome. And again, it's an online process. Okay, so hope you're safe and happy. Um, anyway, we'll continue the lessons, and so the ninth standard portion it's almost over. Okay, we finished the 10th lesson, I guess. Okay, there are some exercises left in 10th lesson, so we'll cover it up. And so hope you know, like next year you'll be writing your public examination, so you got to be ready a bit. And so you won't be having anything new. Okay, in 10th standard you won't be having any new grammar things. Okay, so maybe some very few things will be new. So the tenses, just try to revise. We saw almost all the tenses that we'll be using in 10th standard, like passé composé, imparfait, passé récent, présent, and impératif, futur proche, futur simple, conditionnel, subjunctive, yes, a little bit. And so just try to give a small revision of all those, what we saw in 8th standard and 9th standard. Hope you got the notes. And also in our WhatsApp group we have sent you the PDF of the 10th standard book. Okay, if you have got your hard copy, that's well and good. You can start writing the notebook. Just the questions you can copy slowly. Okay, so leaving enough space for the answers, and after each lesson you can leave 2 or 3 pages. If you got any doubts in writing the classwork, the notebook, okay, you can ask your friends or the admins in the WhatsApp group. Okay, if you're not in the WhatsApp group, you can contact the admins, Irfan, Carol, or Yashwant from A section. Okay, you can contact them and you can join in the group. And so here actually in the 10th lesson of 9th standard we got few exercises left. Anyway, in some of the students, like in A section, maybe you haven't started the 10th lesson. Okay, so B section, I think you have wrote the 10th lesson, the questions and so on. Okay, so anyway, we'll start with the first exercise of lesson 10, mettez l'auxiliaire. You can take your book and follow the page number 116, page number 116, 116. So mettez l'auxiliaire. You got to find the auxiliary of the given past participles. That's the exercise. It is really one simple exercise. As you all know, the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's list. Okay, so the verbs, okay, so which has to be conjugated with être. Okay, so you got in the last page, I think. Okay, so if you haven't written the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's, try to repeat it more number of times so that you'll remember those verbs. And once you want to conjugate a verb in passé composé, that's the first thing you got to check. Okay, if it's a verb that starts with Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's, if it's in the part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's, then you got to conjugate it with être, not with avoir. Then we got few exceptions, then we got different rules. For now, actually, you can just check the verb. If it's in the list, you conjugate it with être. For example, if you take a verb like, for example, venir, okay, venir, okay, you just check the first letter of the verb. Okay, it starts with V. And now take the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's and check for the letter V. Okay, don't check if the verb venir is there. Check the letter V. Okay, so that you will be knowing what all verbs it starts with V. Okay, in Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's, you'll be having just one verb, okay, which starts with V, and it's venir. Okay, so it will be conjugating with the verb être. Je suis venu, tu es venu, il est venu, elle est venue, on est venu, nous sommes venus, vous êtes venus, ils sont venus, elles sont venues. And one more thing, you got to be careful with the verb, with the past participle, when you're conjugating with être. It's actually the l'accord, okay, which means you got to check if the subject is masculine or feminine, it's singular or plural. If it's masculine, you just leave it as it is, the past participle you leave it. If it's feminine, you just got to add an e. If it's plural, you got to add s. If it's feminine plural, you got to add es. Okay, so those are the things you got to keep in mind. So here, for example, the first exercise and the first sentence, al dash aller dans les Alpes. So now you can check after the dash you got the verb aller, which has been conjugated. Now the verb aller, okay, it's conjugated. If the past participle is given, find the infinitive form first. Okay, so it's easy to find. It's the verb aller, A-L-L-E-R. So what you do now, it's actually check the first letter. It starts with A. And now take the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's list and check what all verbs starts with A. Okay, you will be having two verbs which are like aller and arriver. The verb aller and arriver. So the verb aller is actually in the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's. So you will be conjugating it with être. Okay, now the verb, the auxiliary verb, it's actually fixed. Now you got to check the subject. Okay, before the dash we got a subject and it's given al, plural form. So it's actually the verb être will be like sont, S-O-N-T. Okay, elles sont allées dans les Alpes. They went to the Alps mountain. Okay, Alps is actually a chain of mountains. Okay, it's just found in the border of France, right? So for the first one, the answer is sont, S-O-N-T, right? And now the second one, je dash venu en 2008. Okay, so the verb, the past participle, it's venu. Okay, so now find the infinitive form. Okay, venu, it's actually the verb venir. Okay, venir. So it's a part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's. Yes, it is. Okay, it starts with V, and the verb which starts with V in Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp, it's venir. So it should be conjugated with être. So for the subject je, it's suis, S-U-I-S. Okay, je suis venu en 2008. I came in 2008. Yeah. So the third sentence now. Elle dash était malade une semaine. Okay, so after the dash you can see the past participle était. Okay, there are like two meanings for était. One is summer and one is actually the past participle. Okay, which means in English it's been, B-W-E-N normally. And so what verb it is? Find the infinitive form. It is the verb être. Okay, the verb être. So it starts with E. Okay, take the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's, check the list. Okay, how many verbs you got it with E? Okay, normally you'll be having Van der Tramp. Okay, so it'll be like one. Okay, one E, that is entre, not être. Okay, the verb être, it's not in the list of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp's. So what you do, you conjugate it with avoir. Okay, we'll be having the auxiliary avoir here for the third sentence. Now check the subject. Elle a été malade une semaine. Okay, so she was sick for a week. Okay, malade, which means sick. She was sick for a week. That's it. And now the third, the last before sentence. Nous is the subject. Dash eu un accident. So after the dash you got eu. Okay, so you got to know the past participles also. You can check EU, the past participle. So the infinitive form of EU, it's actually the verb avoir. Okay, the past participle of the verb avoir, it's eu, EU. And so now you can check with the Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp. We won't be having the verb avoir in it. Okay, so the only two verbs it starts with A are aller and arriver, as we saw earlier. So the verb avoir itself will be conjugated with avoir. For the subject nous, nous avons, A-V-O-N-S, nous avons eu un accident, right? And we had an accident, which means the last sentence, il dash arriver en avion. So il dash arriver, the verb arriver, the past participle of the verb arriver is given, en avion, by plane, aeroplane. So the verb arriver is in the part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Tramp. Yes, it is. Okay, so we conjugate it with être. Okay, il est, est. Okay, the last sentence will be like il est arrivé en avion. So don't get confused with the pronunciation of a. Okay, in English it's a, B, C, D, a. In French, if you say a, it's actually est or es and so on. Okay, so here the last dash will be est, the answer. So now the second exercise now. Okay, going to the second exercise. Faites l'accord des participes passés. Okay, so do the agreement. L'accord, which means the agreement. We don't have such things in English. Okay, but in French we do have. Faites l'accord des participes passés. Do the agreement for the past participles. So you got 5 sentences, and we'll start checking the verbs which you got with être. Okay, so if a verb is conjugated with avoir, okay, so keep in mind, if the verb is conjugated with avoir, no need to do the l'accord, no need to do that agreement. Okay, so you just leave it as it is. Now let's check what all verbs, what all sentences are conjugated with avoir in this exercise. The first sentence you can see the verb être, sont partis. The second sentence you can see avons été. So nous avons été à Paris le mois dernier. So the second sentence, no need to do anything. Okay, so you just write as it is. Okay, so the third sentence you got être, fourth sentence you got être, fifth sentence you got être. So let's go back to the first sentence. Les étudiantes sont parties en excursion. Okay, so les étudiantes sont parties. So les étudiantes, it's actually the subject, sont it's auxiliary, and partie is the past participle. Yeah. So now you got to make change in the past participle, partie. Okay, so now you got to check the subject. Okay, les étudiantes. So what you observe, it's actually les étudiantes, it's in feminine plural form. Okay, feminine plural form, which means like you got to add e for the feminine and also an s for the plural. Okay, so what you'll be doing, it's actually you'll be adding es with the past participle. The past participle, it's parti, p-a-r-t-i, you add e and s, p-a-r-t-i-e-s. Okay, the pronunciation will be the same. Les étudiantes sont partis en excursion. Right? So only when you write, actually it will be the spelling will be different. When in oral, so when you speak, there won't be any difference. Okay, what makes the difference? It's actually les étudiantes. Okay, if you pronounce the les, L-E-S, les étudiantes, and you pronounce the last T, which means it is feminine, and the les makes it plural. Okay, les étudiantes sont. Okay, even the verb être, by the saying the auxiliary, you can check if it's plural or not. So the second sentence, you will be writing as it is because it's conjugated with the verb avoir. So the third sentence, elle est sortie avec ses amis. She went out with her friends. So you can see the subject, it's elle, which is feminine. Okay, elle est sortie. Well, so with the past participle, what you'll be adding? Yeah, so it's e. Okay, so it's feminine and it's singular. Okay, elle est sortie, S-O-R-T-I-E. Okay, avec ses amis. So the last before one, ils sont montés dans le train. Ils sont montés dans le train. Okay, so they climbed up or they mounted in the train. Ils sont montés. Now you can see the past participle, it's monté and it's conjugated with the verb être. So you got to do that agreement. Il, ILS, it's given, so which is plural form. Right? So what you'll be doing, it's actually you'll be just adding s, masculine plural form. So we'll be just adding s. Okay, ils sont montés, M-O-N-T-E accent S, dans le train. And the last sentence, Laure est rentrée en Inde hier. Okay, so Laure returned to India yesterday. So now the name Laure. Okay, so Laure in English it's Laura, right? And it's feminine. Okay, it's the name of a girl. So Laura est rentrée. So we consider Laure as elle. Okay, feminine singular. So what we'll be doing, it's actually we'll be adding one more e with rentrée. R-E-N-T-R-E accent E on and ear. So that's it for today. Okay, so we'll just anyway, if you have written this in your classwork, that's well and good. If you haven't, just write this, right? And so by the side by side, you can start writing the new notebook. Okay, the 10th standard notebook. So get prepared. Okay, so you are doing really great actually the last 2 months when you are in school, and hopefully you'll continue the same. Okay, so take care, be safe, bye bye.